Thank you all for coming. We are expecting more people to trickle in as the general session just got out. So I'll introduce myself and then tell you the format and we'll dive in. My name is Bart Epstein. I am a research associate professor at the University of Virginia's Curry School of Education and the founding CEO of Jefferson Education, which provides support to growing EdTech companies. And we are excited to be here for the EdTech Jam session number 3. The Twitter handle for this session is GSV ETJ, if anyone wants to tweet. Again, it's GSV ETJ for EdTech Jam. And we'll be hearing this morning from 6 companies that are doing innovative work in the education space. They are Tynker, Pallas Advanced Learning Systems, Vidcode, Bloomboard, Learnzillion, and Edthena. Each CEO will have 7 minutes to give you a presentation. There will be no official time for Q&A, but if we can get quickly through, we can potentially take some questions at the end. The slides that the CEOs will be using will be the same slides that they use for their main investor presentation. Part of the goal of this session is to let educators have more insight into what the business side of things look like. So without further ado, please join me in welcoming Krishna from Tynker.
Good morning. I'm Krishna Vedati, co-founder and CEO of Tynker. Tynker is an online platform for kids to learn coding to become makers. So we are a 4-year-old company. So far, we had 30 million kids use Tynker. Let's see. So if you start, traditionally for kids, as in as 1st grade to 7th grade, if you give them a traditional programming language, boring, it's hard, they get frustrated and let go of it. So what we've done is we created a series of beautiful game-like experiences to onboard the kids. And once they get the computational understanding of a few concepts and they know how to problem solve and debug themselves, then we onboard them onto different experiences to learn coding. So let's take a quick look at what that looks like. So here is our iPad app. It's actually preloaded across all retail stores around the globe. In this app, the kids are going to train a dragon. This is a little game. They think they're playing Angry Birds. The level 1, we give them 2 commands where they connect the dots. So all they're learning here is sequencing. And by trial and error, they figure out how to make the logic work. Within about an hour, they're writing algorithms that solve complex tasks inside the game. So what happens here is that they're focused on problem solving, and the computational logic automatically gets embedded in their head because they're doing trial and error. And once there are different types of games here that touch math, science, lots of interesting. And once they go through these exercises, we give them all sorts of tools to take them to making things that they like. It could be art, games, they could be controlling drones, and make games. And so ultimately, what our vision is to kind of help kids to become this, makers through a computing platform. They could make web apps, they can make mobile apps, they control toys. It's a universal language for them to express their creativity. So far, more than 50,000 schools in US and Canada use Tynker in different forms, paid, free. It's very easy to get started with Tynker. This is kind of traffic we see around the globe using Tynker. 32 million kids, unique kids have used it last year. Based on different months, we get different traffic, but it's very engaging. In fact, we are #1 provider of our code content. For code.org, if you look at the metrics there. Anybody could get started either on the web or on the app stores. In terms of how we generate revenues for the companies. We have 3 models where we provide solutions for home, we provide solutions for school, as well as camp providers like our partners EdTech and Sylvan Learning. So for home, what we do is that there is fully gamified courses where parents can enroll their kids. These are game worlds where they're exploring, but they have to kind of keep programming to move the world forward. Highly engaging. We have really good completion rates. Traditional games have about 35% completion rates. We can take it up to 65-70% completion rates in these things. And kids build millions of projects as well. From a school perspective, we provide K-8 CS curriculum into lesson plans, as well as team courses, and we do automatic assessment. So if you look at what happens is that Tynker will take care of the teaching coding. So we give teachers classroom management tools and lesson plans where they can assign a lesson. Each lesson looks like a series of activities where it could be an interactive tutorial, it could be a puzzle where we test whether the student knows the concept or not. It could be a collaborative exercise, it could be a DIY. So the whole fabric in each lesson teaches them 1 or 2 concepts, and there's a built-in assessment into it. So the students don't know they've been assessed, but it's constantly database collected to present to the teacher or the administrator. Once they get the concept of coding, we can take them in. So we have a series of STEAM courses. These are connecting the dots between coding and actually what they're learning in the classroom. They're like physical sciences or math or language arts or English projects. So they could assign these projects, and kids can make interesting PBL using instructions we provide. And actually, this is one of the really lots of teachers across the country use these courses to kind of supplement their PBL. Each student, because this system collects a lot of data, we give in-depth detailed analytics to the teacher. So which student is, how did they learn? If let's say there's some conditional logic, how did they learn? So we can actually give you in-depth. This is the lesson they've been introduced to. This is the quiz they've done. This is the project they've used the conditional logic. So it's a very detailed analytics are provided. And finally, something about the company. We are a 4-year-old company. We were entrepreneurs before. We built 2 companies. Last company was acquired by AT&T. We actually wrote operating system for phones. Deeply technical team. We're all computer science majors. We understand coding. It's kind of in our DNA. We're also parents. So they actually started as a project for our own children, becoming and ended up becoming Tynker. So it's a platform that gives a creative outlet to the kids. It can transform itself into making apps for them. In fact, this summer we're going to release where kids can submit and they can output Android. Today they can already output like JavaScript, HTML5, Chrome apps. They can also output like Android and iOS apps. And we actually are demoing at Tomorrowland with our partner Parrot Drones. So you can come up, we can show a lot of demos on how Tynker with hardware is connected, and the learning happens through play as well. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Krishna. Next up is Michael from Pallas, Advanced Learning Systems. Awkward silence. It's right up here for you.
Okay, so let's get it going. Now that's the end of it. Okay. Well, pleasure to be here. Michael Jacobson. I'm the founder and CEO of Pallas Advanced Learning Systems. I'm going to tell you a bit about the company, but I'm also going to be telling you a bit about a view that I have about what I call the third wave of EdTech. But first, let me discuss the need. It's all well and good here. We're preaching to the converted and being interested in EdTech. But I would like to suggest that the area that we're focusing on is extremely important. We're focusing on an area of learning science and related subjects. 75% of the occupations of the future are going to require knowledge in these areas. Unfortunately, even though it's vital for students to know these kinds of ideas, they are not. They are avoiding these courses, and that's a very sad thing. But it is a societal imperative that that we prepare the students for the jobs of the future, as well as we prepare the workforce for the future of work. Now, the challenge that we have related to science is that it's difficult to learn. We have considerable research that shows that there are significant cognitive difficulties for learning scientific knowledge in related areas. And because of these special difficulties, students often are very reticent to even take the courses. Obviously, you don't learn it if you don't take the course, if you don't work hard on it. These subjects are also difficult to teach. And everybody who's a teacher understands this very, very well. You can't just have students use some system and they're automatically going to be learning. Teachers lack research-validated resources that are essential for them to be able to really teach in deep ways scientific areas, and then they often have to rely on more didactic transmissionist sorts of approaches at all levels, university and pre-university levels as well. Now, the three waves of EdTech. The first wave, I'd say, takes us back into the 80s. We have standalone things, Math Blaster, Typing Tutor, those sorts of things. I would call the second wave of EdTech what we're seeing a lot of here at this summit. This is our web-based applications, things like the Khan Academy with digital videos, the MOOCs that are available, learning management systems, and so on. And there's been a lot of interest and a lot of use of those kinds of systems. However, if you consider the need that I was sharing with you just a moment ago, what next? Can EdTech really help advance, dramatically improve the learning of science, given the importance that that is for our students and society as well? The third wave of EdTech. What is starting to happen now is we're bringing cognitive science research into how people think and how people learn, combining it with artificial intelligence, and then linking that with advanced technology systems, virtual reality, 3D systems, 2D modeling, visualization systems, learning analytics, collaboration tools, and so on. These are enabling some dramatically powerful, dramatically exciting ways for students to now learn science. And let me show you what I mean. Can we have the volume, please?
Welcome to the Pallas Advanced Learning Systems and its suite of virtual science kits. This is a new way of learning that is both fun and effective.
We've created a virtual world called Emosa. It allows school students to visit as if they're going on a field trip.
It was a really good experience.
It's a really fun new way of learning.
The program was very beneficial. The students took ownership of their learning.
The Pallas approach may seem daunting at first, and it may seem more difficult. You may think you have more to learn. In fact, that's not the case. It frees you up in the classroom. While the students are playing with the models, you can walk around and interact with them and enjoy their enjoyment of the models.
I felt like I actually could do the science. I'm actually really interested in science now.
Okay, a little bit of seeing the system in action, teachers that we've worked with, and so on. What we are doing is providing ways for students to learn science by doing 21st century science. We have advanced inquiry-based approaches that allow the students to construct their own understandings, to build on their own ideas as they're coming to learn very difficult scientific knowledge. Why Pallas? We can demonstrate impact. We provide resources for teachers. The research upon which we're founded has been presented at top international conferences, presented at top in journals as well, and books. So we've been very, very carefully vetted in terms of the research upon which our products are based. Here's a testimonial from a principal. We had a senior education officer visit this school and one of the classes that was using our Pallas product. And what this individual was talking to the teacher, talking to the students, and one of the students made this comment, which was very interesting, that the principal noted. This is a very good way to learn science. It really, really is. Well, where are we? Again, we have licensed IP from the University of Sydney. We are at a stage now where we're showing traction. We've got public schools in Australia, independent schools. We have our first international school in Hong Kong. We're very excited. We're also announcing here at the summit that we'll be making our products available for U.S. distribution starting this August. We're hoping to get into a funding round in the next 3 months or so, looking for schools. We have a licensing model. We're very affordable. So I want to thank you for the time, the opportunity, both to share the perspective about embracing the third wave of EdTech, as well as Pallas Advanced Learning Systems and learning differently. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Michael. Again, the Twitter handle for this session is GSV ETJ. If anyone has questions for any of the presenters, you're welcome to tweet them publicly, or if you have private questions, you can either see me or see them for contact information. Next up is Alexandra from Vidcode.
All right. Hi, everyone. My name is Alexandra Derek Lee, and I'm the co-founder and CEO of Vidcode. Vidcode is computer science for the 21st century teenager. We at Vidcode build the bridge for every teenager to learn 21st century skills, all with technology and creativity at the center. And how we do that is we build a bridge between teenagers' favorite technologies that they hold in their hands, which happen to be video technologies, such as Instagram, Snapchat, and virtual reality. And we teach them how to build the magic behind those experiences. And in the process, they're learning things like design thinking, as well as web programming languages such as JavaScript and Python. It's rigorous, yes, but also social and creative. And we currently have classrooms in over 125 countries using Vidcode for reoccurring year-long and elective courses. The platform itself is a guided sandbox experience that teaches teenagers cross-disciplinary skills in the STEM fields and teaches them how to work in product teams. How it actually works is they would upload classroom content to the Vidcode platform. They then use our scripts and programming languages to modify that content, which they then export to a classroom gallery or to social media if they want to start sharing it publicly. At the beginner levels, they're building projects such as stop motions and video filters. And as they advance, they're building more complex programs with server-side languages, such as virtual reality, computer vision, and gestural interaction. The market we're serving is teenagers worldwide, and there's 500 million total in both the developed and the developing world, and we work within both. And we're really solving the problem for governments who need to engage every kid in the classroom, not just some, and have a mandate to really prepare the next generation of computer scientists. So our value proposition reaches multiple levels. At the government level, we're helping them engage, again, every kid in the classroom, and especially thinking about students who don't have a computer science parent at home, or who don't have a group of friends who are talking about code, or who don't maybe even have a teacher in the classroom who's inspiring them. Vidcode was actually built with teenage girls in mind, and we're especially effective in engaging that population. At the school level, the schools need a diverse suite of coding solutions that speak to different types of learners, different age groups, and different content and material that relates to their lives. And at the individual level, teachers need support, customer support and curriculum, and light training so that they can get right back to helping the students in the classroom, and we can help them support that learning relationship in the classroom. So in the landscape, we generally, after people are done with the visual block programming languages, such as Scratch or Minecraft, and they want to graduate to more advanced material, but they're not ready for those career skill-based sites such as Code Academy or 1 Month Rails that are really built for the undergraduate level and above students who are getting ready for a professional degree. So we have a mixture of that sandbox experience, but also that rigorous professional material, and it allows our students to create their own passion for code. Company progress, we were originally funded by a Kickstarter in the last quarter of 2014. And we raised $35,000 to build out from 1 project tutorial to 12. And we used that to start our initial sales, which began in the after-school market, and then this past fall moved into price testing with teachers. We were part of the Intel Education Accelerator over the fall, and during that time, we secured both our first enterprise-size deals of 10,000 students or more here in the US and internationally, and we're now partnered with Intel as a distribution partner. Our team is made up of 3 female engineers, and we all taught ourselves to code. We all come from non-traditional backgrounds into the computer science field, and we're very passionate about bringing other non-traditional candidates into the field. So again, those kids who don't have an engineering parent at home, those kids who don't have maybe the classroom content or that group of friends who's encouraging them to do that. And we have a strong group of enterprise sales advisors, both from Intel and Blackboard, who are helping us this year expand our market. So our revenue model is $10 to $20 per student per year, and that's a basic package that includes the software, the curriculum, light teacher training, and customer support. And this year, we're focused on key rollouts both in the US and internationally, and we're working with some of Intel's largest customers in the UK and Latin America this year alone. So our go-to-market is distribution through our enterprise-size distribution through our partners. And so the UK, for example, this year in the UK, our partners at Intel and Fujitsu have facilitated a relationship with the university technical colleges there. And we're rolling Vidcode out with 3 of those colleges. There's 39 total. And so we're working with them on a widespread implementation plan there. And so we're really focused on these types of accounts that we can grow within and also multiply in 2017. So our revenue, which was launched this year in January, is growing at 40% per month. And currently, 50% of our pipeline's in the contract phase. So last year, we were awarded by Common Sense Media, a trusted resource for teachers, as one of the 2015's best learning platforms, alongside wonderful learning platforms such as Schoology and Genius. So we are currently in a seed stage round of financing, and we've successfully shortened our path to sales through our distribution partners. And we're currently prepping the product for our large-scale implementations, creating more content to drive the business faster, and we're looking to work with additional schools and districts, both here in the US. And lastly, I think it's important to remember to reach the hundreds of millions of students this year and in the future who are going to need to be trained in computer science. We need a diverse suite of solutions that speaks to all students. And with that, I will leave you with a couple links. I would love for any of you to follow us on our Twitter @Vidcode, or please check out the product. You can sign in for free on either of the URLs above. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Alexandra. Next up is Jason from Bloomboard.
Hi, thank you all for taking the time to be here with us. My name is Jason Lange. I'm the CEO and co-founder for Bloomboard. We're a platform for empowering educator growth. We know fundamentally that teachers are the most important thing in the classroom, right? They are what all the data says drive the most instruction, drive the most engagement for students. And so it's really a question of how do you support and how do you train, how do you grow your best teachers? Unfortunately, when you look at the way we train teachers today, most professional development is still a very one-size-fits-all, very much a workshop-driven model, which just really doesn't meet the needs of teachers in the same way we expect teachers to meet the needs of their kids. And so I would challenge you that even if you think you have amazing PD and that you're providing really great sort of inputs for your PD, the question still becomes is what happens at the end of it, right? You can get your teachers in a room like this as fired up as you possibly can imagine, but if they go back into their classrooms, and because we're humans and we're creatures of habit, and they do the exact same thing they did the following day that they did the day before, none of it really mattered. And so the question is, how do you change that? How do we actually think about moving the system of professional development from what is currently very much an inputs-based system about if I just had higher quality PD, and how do we change that to move it to an output-based system? And so imagine a world in which you actually had the PD time that was being spent was spent on teachers actually working with what demonstrated mastery looks like and building portfolios of lesson plans and student work and videos of instruction that showed that they were competent and could demonstrate mastery of specific competencies and skills. What would it look like if you actually had let teachers collaborate with each other on developing those portfolios and developing that set of data and that set of evidence that shows that they really know how to implement higher questioning strategies or how to really achieve grit with their students? What would that look like in terms of those sorts of experiences? And then finally, what would it look like if you could actually recognize teachers for once they did demonstrate that mastery? What if you could recognize them with formal micro-credentials to really show how they can drive and engage in better outputs and in terms of better outcomes for their kids? And fundamentally, that's what we do. We provide personalized, competency-based professional growth for teachers. And the way we've done that is we've started out really opening up a community, almost like a Pinterest sort of environment for curating collections around problems of practice. So any teacher can come to the site, build a collection around a specific problem of practice, and they range from super informal. So we have teachers in the community who have built how to prepare for maternity leave, all the way to super formal, which is aligned to the observation and evaluation frameworks. And so how do you think about really engaging formative assessment strategies? But the idea is that you curate those problems of practice, curate the best practices around them, and then we've aligned those with what we call micro-credentials, which is effectively a digital portfolio submission. We have a partnership with an organization called Digital Promise that's been about a 3-year-old nonprofit that's really been championing micro-credentials and competency-based learning for teachers. And so they've built out, in partnership with Relay Graduate School of Ed, New Teacher Center, TNTP, all of the sort of thought leaders in the education world, they've built out about 130 different micro-credentials across all sorts of different skills and competencies. And then we provide the technical architecture for all of that process. And so when you think about a teacher being able to upload a portfolio and a submission, we sort of power that and then allow districts and allow schools to manage and align that to their own initiatives. And then finally, we use that and we provide a virtual PLC environment underneath it all. And the way we think about this is if you have collections of supports around problems of practice, they're really sort of the curated learning object. And then you've got the destination, which is how do you demonstrate mastery of that competency? Now, how do you get from point A to point B? And so we've built these virtual PLCs, we call them rooms, so that teachers and coaches can really facilitate those conversations and drive towards an online asynchronous environment where they can actually have in-person conversations, but really facilitate them in a way that coordinates and anchors the conversation around that competency. And we often find that we use this in teacher induction quite a bit, where there's really interesting ways where you can drive better conversations that right now happen in email or in Gmail in 1,000 different locations. And if you can bring those together and really anchor them in a specific process, it's a much, much better approach. And so for districts, what it actually ends up looking like is we take the individual competencies you might be working on. And so this is a Digital Promise micro-credential for growth mindset. All micro-credentials really have the same architecture underneath them. There's sort of 4 parts. One is sort of an overview. The second is sort of the body of evidence that demonstrates that competency. It might be a lesson plan, might be some student work, might be a video. Then there's some evidence of what learning took place within that process. And finally, what reflection from the teacher actually happened. And then we align based on that competency all the various nuances in terms of problems of practice and collections that might go along with supporting that specific competency. And then finally, we organize that within what are the core competencies that might work. And so typically in the state of Arkansas, every new teacher and every new leader in the state will go through an induction program that's all micro-credential based starting in the fall. And we've got several other states that are moving towards that process. And so it's really taking competency-based learning for adults and applying it within the structures that already exist. And then we've also have folks moving, so we have a district in Florida that's looking at using Common Core shifts, and they're micro-credentializing all of the shifts around Common Core. And so understanding what those portfolios would look like and how do you guide people through that portfolio creation process is the core goal of the system. And then ultimately we put in place sort of a scope and sequence within that process. And so how do you give both the element of rigor and prescriptive sort of nature of, I want teachers to be able to know by October, right, how to really manage observation and how to really manage their lesson planning and their unit planning, but I also want to be able to provide some element of personalization, whether it's ESL, ELL sort of strategies that teachers might want to focus on based on their own context. So really creating that sort of structure. And then finally, We support that with these virtual environments and these virtual collaborations and these private communities to let teachers collaborate with each other so teachers can actually find the sorts of supports from other teachers like them working on the same problem of practice, working on the same competency. And so I'm super excited because we've also started to see a really massive groundswell at the state level where now we already have, in the last 3 months, we've gotten 5 states to approve all micro-credentials in the system for CEU equivalency. So the clock hours, so in Texas, there's CPEs available for all of them. In Illinois, in North Carolina, in Maryland. And then we've got a bunch of new states, about 16 new states that are pursuing some sort of recertification using micro-credentials and competency-based as the approach going forward. Thank you very much for your time. You can reach me at Jason. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Jason. Next up, Eric from Learnzillion.
Great. My name is Eric Westendorf. I'm the co-founder and CEO of Learnzillion. Learnzillion is the next generation curriculum and professional development solution. One of the things that's really exciting about this moment in time in education is that we are living through what I think makes sense to call a post-Gutenberg moment. Just as the printing press dramatically changed the way that information and content was shared, sparking the scientific revolution, the Reformation, so too the internet, and specifically, in our case, the internet inside schools with cheaper devices and broadband, is changing the way that content and information is shared, which has huge implications because to date, the scarce resource has been content. What publishers, traditional publishers, have built businesses around is the scarce resource of content. And suddenly that scarce resource is no longer the scarce resource. And as we know, we now have teachers who are able to find and share content completely on their own, bottom up. And they're doing that by just typing into Google things like math lessons. But they're also becoming more sophisticated about how they do that. And so they're also finding sites like Learnzillion where they trust that they can find really high quality lessons that they can use to implement the new standards. So a recent Harvard study interviewed teachers across the country, and 1 in 3 of them said that Learnzillion was the top resource they turned to in order to find content that they can use around these new standards. We've developed this content with a dream team of teachers, with top teachers from around the country, and a lot of the content is video-based, making it really, really easy to use and to understand. What's also exciting is that it's moving from just teachers understanding that content is now available and they have access to it, to also districts starting to understand this and starting to move towards a world in which they no longer pay for full curriculum because it's available for free, high quality, and coherent. And we're starting to see indications that this is moving quite quickly. In fact, a recent survey of principals asking them, what's the curriculum, what are the curricular resources that you're using, cite open curriculum, Engage New York, Learnzillion, other open resources, more than they cite the traditional publishers that we're used to seeing, right? And it makes sense because it's not only more cost effective, but it creates a lot more ownership on the part of the districts. Districts now get a chance to shape this content in ways that make sense for their teachers and their students. We're also seeing initiatives like Go Open, where districts are raising their hand and saying, we want to move in this direction. We believe that for many reasons, this is a smart move for us. So this leads to a question that I'm guessing some of you have on your mind. Well, if content is no longer the scarce resource, like what is the new business model? What does it mean to focus on curriculum and professional development in a post-Gutenberg era? I think the best way to describe what we see as the evolving business model is to tell a quick story about one of our customers. This is Greg Odell. He's the e-learning specialist in Hall County in Georgia. And he first found out about Learnzillion because his teachers were using it for free. They were using our videos with their students, with their parents. Soon after, the district decided to adopt a learning management system, to take on an operating system for how they were going to drive learning. And he realized we need anchor content that we can curate and customize and integrate on this new LMS. And so he wanted to do that in a way that really worked for their system, in a way that was highly customized, in a way that created a great user experience for his teachers, and actually specifically in their case, parents, because they wanted parents to understand and have better transparency around what their students were learning in class. So they are now a paying customer, so annual subscription to Learnzillion to do this customization, this integration, and then what we also do is layer assessment and reporting on top of that so that it's easier for districts and for teachers to track the progress that their students are making. You know, we're coming out of an era where you'd spend millions on textbooks and really have zero idea whether they were ever making their way off the bookshelf or walking into classrooms and realize that often they were just a prop for the video machine, for the video projector, to an era where not only can you tell exactly how often it's being used, but you can see the sort of outcomes it's driving in terms of student learning. Core to this, and core to what Learnzillion offers when we partner with districts, is professional development. Because in many ways, this move towards a post-Gutenberg era is a change management challenge, right? We're needing to, in essence, change the role that teachers play in being deliberate and thoughtful about how they curate content, how they use content to meet the very specific needs of their students, right? And that doesn't happen just magically. That is a skill set. We at Learnzillion talk about the fact that the scarce resource is not content anymore. The scarce resource now is community. It's building community of educators around content in ways that help them implement it with their students, in ways that help them respond to the real needs that they see from their students. We think this is super exciting, that this creates greater ownership for school districts in terms of the content they have at their fingertips, creates greater ownership for teachers, where they get to actively play this role of figuring out how best to meet their students' needs. And most importantly, it creates opportunities for greater ownership for students who get to more actively use the digital content to both move at their own pace, but also to drive conversations around math, around reading that help drive that learning, that help drive what we often refer to as productive struggle in the classroom, which is so important. We think this is just super exciting in terms of making a difference in the world for what life looks like for teachers and students. We also think that it's a really big business opportunity. This shift is happening. It's inevitable. The scarce resource will never be content again. The scarce resource will continue now to be community. And so when we look at this market, many billions of dollars spent across curriculum, across professional development, and across assessment, the ability now to provide a solution that integrates these three and focuses on building the capacity of teachers to use OER and districts to use OER to better meet the needs of their students is it's a really exciting opportunity. And we're excited to take a leadership role in helping districts make that move. So I look forward to talking to many of you afterwards, and thank you.
All right. Thank you. Thank you, Eric. And our final presenter is Adam from Edthena.
Hi, I'm Adam Geller, founder and CEO of Edthena. As a first-year science teacher, I wanted nothing more than to be a great science teacher. and yet not one single person with science expertise ever walked through my classroom door to give me feedback. It turns out that this is one of the biggest structural challenges we face in education around helping teachers improve. We fundamentally know that the best way to help them get better is through feedback in the classroom. And the reason we're not doing more of that today is that it is way too expensive to have all the right people in the right places at the right time. This is the problem that we're working to solve. At Edthena, we're bringing observation and feedback online using recorded video and specialized collaboration tools. Let's take a look. Here, you see a video that's been recorded by a teacher, uploaded and shared to a group. Maybe that's peers, maybe that's a group with just her instructional coach. And the video is playing, that plus sign is the playhead. You can imagine it tracking across the bottom here. And when I want to leave a comment, I just click the plus sign. I would have 4 comment types: question, suggestion, strength, and note. I could choose one, leave my comment right here, right in the moment in time, aligned with the evidence I'm seeing. I can link it up with the specific set of professional standards we're using in the district to talk about good teaching. And then when I click submit, everything instantly updates. Marker on the timeline, comment down below. I want to share 2 stories about how our platform is being used, both about the state of Colorado. The first is about Suzanne Arnold, a teacher educator out of University of Colorado, Denver. Suzanne, along with her team of 7 coaches, have built a coaching network that supports more than 200 teachers this year. They're able to regularly provide feedback as well as help facilitate the teachers providing feedback to each other. What's interesting is that those teachers are based in more than 150 buildings across the entire state. Suzanne would tell you firsthand, this would not be possible without the coaching and collaboration tools provided inside of Edthena. The second story is about a district just about 45 minutes up the road. Diane Luer, who's the head of professional development there. What's really interesting and notable is the momentum and types of uses we're seeing on the ground. So notable, in fact, that last year, St. Vrain Valley was picked by the U.S. Department of Education as one of the 9 exemplar featured future-ready school districts in the entire country. And in their commendation letter, the video coaching process they had implemented for 21st century learning for their teachers was specifically cited. But the real story here is the story that Diane has been sharing. With a headline like that, you don't have to depend on me to believe that we're having an impact in their district. So let's talk about a few of the things that we've been updating in the past year that have people like Diane so excited. At Edthena, we have always been known for reliable and easy uploads, but this past year we released an iOS app that puts the power of our video technology onto a mobile device. Now a teacher can be recording a lesson in the classroom. It will automatically upload, oftentimes before the lesson is even completed. With the release of something we call leveled indicators, coaches can now align their feedback to the professional skills and then track that progress over time to spot trends in teacher performance. These are interactive data visualizations that they're able to browse through and click interactively. We completed an integration with the Gates Foundation Measures of Effective Teaching video library, which now gives our partners access to more than 2,100 lessons of real teaching unedited that are used as a starting point in conversations in their organization. And last month, we released what we're calling video portfolios. This is allowing teachers inside of our platform to securely share their videos outside of Edthena. Perfect if they're applying for a new job or if they're an in-service teacher applying for an award or a fellowship or a speaking proposal. We've been getting recognized for all of the progress we've been making, including getting named top product by district administration, Best Professional Development Platform by EdTech Digest, and just recently named a finalist as Best Professional Learning Solution in the Cody Awards. This conference is about the numbers, so let me make sure to leave you with at least a few. In the last 2 years, we have 4x'd the number of partners that we work with while 10x'ing our revenue. And while these numbers are solid and great, what I really come back to and think about are teachers like Taylor and the thousands like him. Taylor is a math teacher in the Seattle area, and when he was receiving coaching in our platform, his coach was located 2,000 miles away here in San Diego. And when I asked Taylor about his experience, he told me Edthena was critical to his development. It was critical because not only could he see where he needed to improve, but he could see where he was making progress on becoming a better teacher. Edthena, we're helping bring observation and feedback online using recorded videos and specialized collaboration tools.
Thank you, Adam. And everyone, please join me in giving one final round of applause to all of our presenters this morning.